Welcome back. You're still watching News at Prime with me, Masa Gigana. Now, Jonathan Zapiro, one of South Africa's most iconic and fearless political cartoonists, has launched his 30th annual collection of satirical cartoons for 2025, just in time for the festive season. The book is titled What Else Could Go Wrong and offers a piercing, often hilarious retrospective on the political absurdity, national upheaval and international lunacy that defined the year. He joins us in studio to tell us more. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us, aka Zapiro. Firstly, congratulations on your 30th collection. How does it feel to make it all the way to baby democracy?
I'm thrilled to, I mean, you know, I had this idea of doing this as an annual and thinking it might be a long-standing thing. I used to read Giles cartoons when I was a little kid. When I was 3 or 4 years old, I used to love the covers, used to love looking at them. I didn't understand them properly. And I thought maybe one day I'll do this. I can't believe it's actually, you know, it's the 30th one of mine, and now people get my annual for Christmas and stuff.
You're right, and it becomes somewhat of a South African tradition as well. Now, the title, What Else Could Go Wrong? I couldn't find a more fitting title. Tell me the thinking behind it.
You know, every year I try and find something that seems to be either the top story or just feels like part of the general feeling. And I'm always looking for things that will, you know, 10 years from now, people will say, well, that was the feeling then. And I've done that for, you know, for 30 years. In this instance, I knew that I wanted to make it about the government of national unity, so-called, because it's not a proper government of national unity, it is a coalition. But the new character comes from the 1994 government of national unity under Madiba, where it was a proper government of national unity. But I had about 3 different ideas from different cartoons, and I didn't know what I was going to do for the cover. And it was my caption writer, Mike Wills, who said, what about that cartoon? And the moment he said it, I thought, that actually sums things up, because it's us, it's the new kind of crashing and sort of running into trouble, but also what else could go wrong? Well, there's Trump, and there's the tariffs and all the stuff that he is, you know, messing up around the world.
Yeah, and I wanted to get your thinking, Zapiro, behind how you come up with this collection, this compilation for the 30th collection as well, because you've got hundreds of cartoons that you could pick from as well, but also, for instance, your cover, you speak of the GNU and you've got, you know, this, basically this crashing car and the wheels are falling off. And what I do also enjoy about looking at some of your work is that there's so much meaning, there's so much more messaging, you just keep looking at it. When it comes to the government of national unity, when they were formalized, did you think, oh no, immediately there's content for me? Oh,
I did. And I also realized that it wasn't a proper, an exact new. It wasn't an exact, you know, the new being the wildebeest animal, that it was actually a coalition that was being called a new. But there was always something. I mean, actually, when that happened, I did a kind of a Lion King thing, where you have Pride Rock, and you have all these politicians, but instead of just one character holding up the little lion, you've got all these politicians holding up this big new that is kind of teetering and could fall off. And down at the bottom, you had the Jacob Zuma, you know, you had the hyenas holding up the head of Jacob Zuma, because they wanted, the hyenas want him to be president again, or whatever it is, or top dog there. So, you know, I did see the potential in this arrangement to have lots of cartoons. But the thing is that I usually find a cartoon in the collection which will jump out. And this one, for some reason, didn't jump out until you know, somebody pointed it out. And then I realized that it really is, probably it encapsulates best out of this whole collection, just what the year has been about for us.
Yeah, and who can also remember the infamous couch and dollars situation as well with our president. And you've also got a cartoon for that as well, but then you've linked it to our squabbles or, you know, a troubled relationship now with the United States and the irony of the puns that are used as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that cartoon that you're looking at is one from, you know, many months ago. It was the early part of the year, you know, just when because of course at the time that Cyril Ramaphosa took over as the chair of the G20, in the run-up to what was going to come about, we could already see that we were going to run into serious problems because Trump's attitude to Africa and attitude to South Africa and to almost any other place that he doesn't consider as being hugely beneficial to him or to his version of the United States. So we were one of the people referred to as sort of shithole countries, I'm afraid. And he's also starting to develop this absolutely false narrative about bad things happening to white people and white Afrikaners in South Africa. So, and he was talking about tariffs already. And at that stage, he was even talking about 100% tariffs. So, I mean, are we lucky to have got away with a 30% tariff? I mean, it's ridiculous. So that's the kind of thing that I was already looking at. I had Cyril kind of trying to negotiate with Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this visual representation that you have in here of Trump, you know, pretty much on the loo, and the toilet roll, reading international law, the U.S. Constitution, the environment, and just kind of like taking a number 2 on all of that. To be able to have such visual representation that's not only humorous, but also quite powerful as well, and also could get you into trouble. You've been doing it a very long time. Where does the courage also come from? Tell me some of the risks involved in having to criticize people of this caliber.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very strange thing. I've always been weirdly kind of law-abiding and well-behaved, sort of at school and in my ordinary life. But when it comes to big rules, when it comes to big, powerful people, I see myself completely differently. So during the apartheid era, once I decided to become an activist, then I was prepared to take on anyone. And the same thing has happened during democracy, where I want this country to succeed, but where I see things going wrong, and I've got this voice as a cartoonist, I think it's important to just go for it no matter what the consequences. And so that's what drives me. I have these ideas and I want to communicate them. And I believe in advocacy in cartooning, not just making people laugh. Yeah. It's helping to kind of get people to see things in a new way. That's the important thing for me about satire. It's the twist. It's that other thing that you don't expect. Yeah. Because that it is, of course, the way jokes work. You don't expect the outcome. That's why it's funny. So more often than not, I'm trying to do it as something funny, but I'm also prepared to do the shocking route or pathos or just a cerebral twist.
And speaking about, you know, the activism part of it and not only the humor of it, do you think that after 30 years that political satire still holds the power to genuinely influence political outcome, or are people moving towards just using it as catharsis and something of humorous therapy?
In its different forms, I think it still absolutely has power. I mean, if you think about some of the memes are, in some instances, kind of shorthand satirical cartooning. So, and they often make a very big impact, and they have a big impact on social media. So I think there's a lot of life in this old dog of satirical cartooning, and I'll keep doing it. Actually, I've been doing it, cartooning of various kinds for more than 40 years. Wow. It's just 30 years of these annuals. What you said earlier about how do I choose, in the old days, I was doing so many cartoons. I was doing 7 or 6 cartoons a week. I would really have to select, and I was producing less than half of my output in the annuals. These days, I'm doing 3 a week for Daily Maverick, so that's sort of half my earlier output. So I produce almost all the cartoons that I do in these collections now. Yeah.
Fantastic, geez. Zapiro, you know, when we're talking about, you were talking about being a cartoonist pre-democracy and now, from the apartheid era to now, and you faced numerous legal challenges as well. How would you rate your experience when it comes to freedom of expression in 2025?
this would be, and it'd be quite interesting for some people who think that, we have the most terrible problems anywhere. One of the things that we do have is we have a lot of freedom of expression. We really, really do. So no matter the things that I've faced 2 major lawsuits from Jacob Zuma when he was about to become president and right through into his presidency. And I was really under a lot of pressure. But we have strong institutions. We have lots of freedom of expression. In the old days, in the apartheid era, I mean, it was serious infringement on our not only on everybody's human rights, I mean, especially if black South Africans who didn't have, there was absolute inequality and torture and infringement of rights and infringement of dignity, every aspect of it. But for a cartoonist, I mean, it was quite difficult because you couldn't depict certain people, you couldn't depict or name certain parties or political organizations, the ANC. Even to promote the ANC or the Communist Party or the PAC, whatever was banned and could get you into trouble. There were cartoons that I did that were banned for distribution because I flouted some of those things. And there were organizations that I worked for and publications that I worked for where either the whole publication got banned or certain editions of it. And of course, I was actually eventually caught by the security police and detained without trial, and they interrogated me about the cartoons. So it was, it's chalk and cheese.
Chalk and cheese, night and day.
But I will say though, I have a voice in big publications. I do feel that with the same kind of thing that we're seeing, very, very terrible things happening in terms of the police corruption and in terms of some aspects of government corruption. And I think that in certain communities, small-time journalists or people working for small publications are under much more threat than I've ever been under in democratic South Africa.
Oh, yeah, I hear you on that one. And also, when you're talking about just the content and all that's been going on, the memes that also come out, comedy and satirical work has also changed over the years and over the decades. Are you spoiled for choice in terms of content? A lot of the time people say South Africa is a movie. So do you find yourself in a position where you're just too spoiled for choice now?
It's a sort of a yes and no answer. On the one hand, I think I was able to just keep going with everything. When I was doing 6 or 7 cartoons a week, I didn't even have time that something would come up and I'd find a way to do it. Now that I'm doing 3 a week, there are many times when I think, oh, I'd love to do a cartoon about, I am spoiled for choice in that sense, and I'd love to do a cartoon about this one and that, but I just, I'm only doing 3 a week, and there's a lot to look at in this place.
And you were talking about, some of the things that we're seeing transpiring out of the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee, what we're seeing in the policing as well. I mean, out of that in itself.
I mean, Brown Mokgotsi, I've managed to pick up on all kinds of things with Brown Mokgotsi and Vusi Musi Kat Matlala. And again, I would have done even more if I was doing as many as I used to. But the stuff that's coming out is so wild, but I must say, it feels sometimes like we're in a cycle where you have state capture and you think you pass state capture, and then you have a different kind of state capture cropping up just a few years later.
Well, you will always clearly be spoiled for choice when it comes to content. Zapiro, thank you so much for joining us in studio, and congratulations on your 30th annual collection. And this one is titled, What Else Could Go Wrong? I couldn't think of a better title when we're thinking about all that's transpired in the world of politics, not only in South Africa, but across the globe too. That, of course, was celebrated cartoonist Jonathan Zapiro Shapiro joining us here in studio.